So thank you, Michael, for allowing us to do this interview and welcome Geraldine. Well, I would like to ask you a very simple and interesting question at the beginning. What is
Okay.
NSTT and why it was started?
Well, NSTT is the training of trainers, and we began doing it in 1999. It was during the time when NLP was falling apart, and neurosemantics had been around for about 4 years, and people were wanting to train it. And the year before, 1998, I ran just a short 5-day training of how to train metastates. And as people trained metastates, they wanted to train NLP. And because NLP was falling apart and Richard Bandler was suing everybody in the field, nobody knew if that was possible. So we began NSTT to really elevate NLP, and that's why today we have neurosemantic NLP as a representation of NLP with the creativity of metastates and other things at a higher level of quality and ethics. And that was our vision, to create and to call forth really good people who wanted to change the lives of people in their cities, their countries, and who wanted to work together and not to be alone.
Mm-hmm. So we can summarize that NSTT is like an advanced level of NLP trainers training, or a high level, one with higher ethics, one with like more standards. So people attending NSTT are able to train NLP besides our unique models in the neurosemantics. Is that correct?
Correct. So
okay.
Through NSTT, you become an NLP trainer, but not just an NLP trainer. Really a part of a larger community of people who care about the future. So it's about us improving the work we do, the money we make, the influence that we make, but also working together so that we're about something much bigger than just a training event. We're about changing the lives of people.
Mm-hmm. So Michael, based on that, and one of the unique things we have in the neurosemantics is the Epg model, or the Epg training. So during the first part of the training, during the first few days, what we do is you do train the psychology of Epg. Can you give us a brief about what is the psychology of Epg and why that's important for trainers to learn about?
So in taking training to a higher level, so that people not only know how to train, we put a lot of focus on that, but also the psychology behind it. Because if you don't understand how people think and feel, how they change, how they resist, how groups of people interact with each other in a training room. So the psychology is the psychology of us humans, how we think about ourselves, how we think about the powers that we have, the capacities to do whatever we do, the intentions we set, the demons we fight. So we go to the psychology of APG, the psychology of NLP as well, so that people understand this is the cognitive behavioral model. It is based upon the humanistic psychology model that focuses on people being the best that they can be and unleashing, actualizing their highest meanings into their best performances. Without the psychology, a person would be doing techniques, mimicking techniques, without really understanding what are you doing and knowing what's really working and what's not.
So basically, you're giving them behind the scene, or like a deeper level, that if you want to become a trainer, you really need to know that, and to need the mechanism behind that to be able to really understand and apply the techniques. So as you said, you're not just mechanically training it, you do know the meaning behind it and why it's working and why it's producing results.
Exactly.
Okay.
People could copy Tony Robbins and think that they're a great trainer, but if you
Mm,
don't understand people and don't understand yourself, it's really hard to be a really an excellent trainer in the sense of training people to new skills that will be sustainable and ecological in their families, in their homes.
mhm. Okay, that's really interesting. So, Michael, because since we mentioned that, we mentioned the EPG, we mentioned the NLP. Um, One of the questions that I've been receiving, what will I be as a neurosemantics trainer be able to train? Can you give us a brief? And I did count the trainings. I think it's like 40 trainings, something like that. But can you give us a brief about what can those attending the NSTT train after they do the training?
One of the things we've done in neurosemantics that's very different from NLP, we've pulled apart the NLP practitioner and the master practitioner. And as we pull it apart, we've constructed new pieces of the model.
Mm-hmm.
So we can focus on, as the sheet now shows, selling, wealth creation, learning, writing, reframing, dealing with fear, losing weight, business expertise, stuttering. So we've got lots and lots of specific areas where a person could specialize. So they're not just training practitioner or master
Mm-hmm.
practitioner, but really they can learn, they can choose to maybe do health training or training in business or training in a specific aspect of business. And so we've got, I think there's 55 manuals, and most of them a person could train. The only requirement we ask is that you experience the training and then you can train it.
So it's basically they need to attend the training once and then they can train it.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is very interesting, and I'll be asking you this question because before I studied with the neurosemantics, I actually did study with another NLP school. And one of the things we had to do is we had to pay, I believe that back then, and that was 15 years ago, we had to pay $2,000 to be able to get the training manual. Uh, can you tell us about the royalty model that we have in neurosemantics? And if someone wants to train any of these trainings, what's required beside attending the training?
So, yes, after a person has experienced it and they know that I'd like to train this, I'd like to become really an expert at this content, um, they just ask for the manual. We give them the manual. And every time they make a copy of it, they print off a copy, it's a $5 royalty.
So that's their only cost. It's only $5 per student,
Yeah.
right? And I have to say that this is actually an excellent model, Michael, because thinking about it as a trainer, let's say I would like to do the selling genius, and I'm not really sure if I'm going to be excited about delivering that training. I don't have the risk to about investing a lot of money up front. I can get like 5, 6 of my students, pay $5 each, like $25, $30, deliver the training once. And if I like the training, I can keep doing that. If not, then that was my only investment. There's nothing to lose. There's nothing to pay upfront and long commitment. Um, so I have to say thank you, Michael, for that. Because as I said, in the other school, I had to pay like $2,000 per training manual. Yeah, and some trainers they didn't even use it, so they just paid and they didn't use it. So you said there's like 45 manuals, something like that.
I think there's 55 altogether.
55. Okay.
Some are specialties where you really need some background.
Mm-hmm.
So we encourage people to get that background before you do it. Because if you train something and you don't even know who are the key thinkers and speakers in that field, like the field of wealth creation, you really need to know some of the key players so that when people ask questions, well, what does Kiyosaki say? Or what does Thomas Stanley say? And you go, I don't know who you're talking about. You would diminish your own credibility as an authority to train that material.
Okay. Okay. So I did an attempt to highlight the trainings that also require special permission or special like knowledge or skills
Yeah.
before they can train that. But as you said, it's like 55 trainings, and most of them are available as long
Yeah.
as you attend them once. 55, that's a big number. Uh, Michael, how many trainings are we currently developing every year? And can you tell us more about the trainings that are coming from the community trainers too?
Well, during the pandemic, I've written 8 books, and out of those 8 books, there are 8 new trainings, 8 new training manuals. So we're constantly adding more. Um,
Okay.
and that's one of the
Mm.
creative things about the neurosemantic community. I'm not the only one creating those new training manuals that's making it available for everybody. Omar Salom has created a leadership development manual that is designed mostly for coaching an executive through personal development as an executive. And he wrote that in Spanish, but now it's been translated in English, so it's available. And so
Mhm.
there's things like that. Other people are doing that kind of thing. So we've got a very rich and creative community, and we're inviting people to come in. If you've got a specialty, we can support you in developing that specialty, connecting it to the foundations of NLP and neurosemantics, and then making it available worldwide.
Mhm. And when people use their training manual, they also pay them royalty in return.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, Michael, after I attend the neurosemantics trainers training, I have a lot of trainings that I can train, and they keep growing, and I don't have to pay anything extra except or beside the $5 royalty fee.
Yeah.
That's it. That's a very good investment. Okay. So another thing that I would like you to also highlight here, Michael, if you will, um, that some people do attend the neurosemantics trainers training, but they are not just looking for our trainings; they are looking for the skills. So can you tell us more a little bit about the skills that people will learn or the benefit? If I'm not interested really in training neurosemantics, because I've seen people who get a lot of value from attending an neurosemantics trainers training, even if they're not planning to train these trainings.
It looks like the epitome of simplicity. All you have to do, stand up in front of a group and start talking. But if you've ever been with a trainer who doesn't know what they're doing or presenter, you've got to engage their minds. So the
Mhm.
skill of engagement, and you got to keep engaging it all the way through, or people will get bored and they'll stop listening. If they stop listening, they're not getting it. If they're not getting it, their lives are not going to change, and they're going to walk out saying, "Poor investment. The investment I made wasn't worth it." So you got to engage them. You got to get rapport, because it's who you are as a person that they're relating to. And if you don't have some of the qualities of rapport, some compassion, some kindness, some humility, some ability uh, to bond with people, so rapport building. When you're before a group, you're inducing a state for the whole group, and people are in different states. So how do you induce that? You've to some extent have got to be an actor, using your voice, using space to put on a show of whatever the training is, so people are fully engaged and get absorbed in it and fascinated by it. And so those are some of the basic skills. Framing helps people to now understand how to interpret whatever is going on. There's also the skill of demonstrating, the skills of dialoguing with an audience, answering questions. So there's a lot of skills. We've benchmarked each of these skills, and these are not rocket science skills. They can be developed. And in fact, in NSTT, on day one, everybody is up on their feet beginning to make a presentation. So it is experiential, it is hands-on, it is live, and the feedback they're getting keeps shaping and shaping and shaping their responses until they can get really pretty good at engaging and getting rapport and delivering their message.
Mhm. So, Michael, you did mention that from day one they get on stage and they start presenting. Can you tell us more about the practical side of that? Because I've seen, whether you believe it or not, I've seen trainers training where people go there and they don't deliver any presentations.
Yeah, yeah. So we divide everybody into groups of 6, and every group will have 1 or 2 team leaders. So you're presenting to 6 people, and you'll become really closely bonded with those 6 people. Over the years, we've seen people develop partnerships and sharing in co-training and other things from that. And at first, what the presentations will be a summary of the psychology of Epg and the psychology of NLP that they have just heard. So they hear something, they immediately stand up and give a summary of what they've heard, which, by the way, teaches people how to capture what you hear and then represent it in your own way. As they do that, we always give them a little test, a little flexibility test, just to see how flexible they are. And we do that by presenting a little challenge in the audience. We may have the audience turn away from them, and then they have to present with people turning away from them, which creates the ability to improvise in the moment and to develop the skill in spite of whatever might be happening.
Okay, so Michael, speaking about that, because I actually do find that very interesting. One of the things we do in NSTT is we prepare people for the worst thing that can happen, or different scenarios and different problems as trainers. Can you tell us more a little bit about that, and also why you included that in the training?
So it's day 10 or 11 in the evening. We do a presentation called Your Worst Living Nightmare. And we ask everybody, what would be your nightmare in an audience or in your presentation? What would be your most hellish experience? And then we go through, because everything that's been offered, usually we've already got an action plan for how to deal with that. And so we go through, here's how to prepare yourself for what could go wrong. And with, like anything, there's lots of things that can go wrong in a training. And once again, having flexibility, being able to improvise, being able to think on your feet is such a critical skill, so that you don't lose people and that people can feel safe in your hands. It's one of the important things we try to develop with all the people who come.
So basically, Michael, you let people discover their worst nightmare in a training room, and you give them an exercise on that. And as you said, because of the past year experience, you already almost have like a solution for everything that could happen, and you tell them exactly what to do.
Yeah.
Okay. And I would say the main benefit of that is, if as a trainer, especially if I'm a new trainer, if I feel I'm prepared for anything, especially for my worst nightmare, then I have more confidence to get started. And I would say many trainers, they actually cannot take the first step because their worst nightmare is in their head and they feel I'm not prepared for that.
Yeah. So in training, there is what you say, the content. We don't spend a lot of time at NSTT on content. We expect that you've been through NLP, you've been through the practitioner, master practitioner, Epg. You know the content for the most part. We do have a questionnaire, and we do some of that, but it's mostly how do you present, and how do you find your style, your way of presenting that fits for who you are, and that becomes your signature for your training. Above and beyond that, we do something else, and that is you as a person, you as a trainer. So from the very beginning, every evening, we have master trainers present in the evenings a pattern that's going to help a person be the best trainer as they can be as a person. So we present things like being centered, having integrity, being uninsultable, presence of mind under pressure. So each evening, people get to see a master trainer or someone in the master trainer track make a high quality training and present a pattern, and then they practice that pattern, and that's about who you are as a trainer, above and beyond what you do.
Okay. So Michael, since we started talking about that, can you like give us a brief about how does the day look like in a training? Because many people, especially those who didn't do the ECMC yet, are concerned from 9 to 9. Will I be sitting in my chair from 9 to 9? So what do we do from 9 to 9 for 15 days?
So in 2004, we had Tom Welsh from the United States go to Australia to videotape NSTT. And what he told me later, he said there was so little to videotape because you guys were up, you were doing this, you were going over here, you were doing that, you were practicing this. He said the amount of time sitting in the chairs, he said, I'm not getting many hours of videotaping going on. You know, the presentations in the evening, some of the descriptions in the day. We'll present something, say we'll present engagement, how to engage. We send you to your groups to practice engagement. Come, and then the group will debrief, and then the whole group will debrief. So it's very active. Most people find that the day just melts away in terms of the time because they're so involved and so active.
Okay. So I'd say it's similar experience to the ECMC training where there's some content, but most of the training is practical. So you're either in your group or you're delivering something or doing something with someone else.
Yeah.
Okay.
When it comes to training, there's several different kinds. All we've been talking about so far is a presentation that would develop a skill. So you might train someone in communication or in dealing with criticism. So that'd be content. But there's other kinds of presentations, and our trainers will get an experience of introducing a speaker. They'll get the experience of sharing from the heart. When you tell a personal story that might be quite emotional, that's a different kind of presentation. They and their group will make a presentation as to a board to sell a training. So that's a different kind of a presentation when you go into a boardroom and you're trying to sell the training. So we've got several different kinds of presentations that people will be learning to do in addition to just straightforward training.
Mm-hmm. So speaking about that, and I was just having a quick look on the menu, and I'll be showing that in a moment. How did we come up with the name Treasure Chest, and why did you choose that name for the manual? Okay.
Yeah, the manual for NSTT is titled The Treasure Chest, and Alan Fater from New Zealand was the one who said that. And he said that because there's just so much here, like 250, 300 pages of materials that once you leave NSTT, you've got a manual that you could spend a year studying and really deepening and refining your skills in training.
Okay. So yeah, so from the beginning, you start with the preparation, and you do give them like some important things or essential skills that they need to focus on, and then you go to the main like presentation skills. And you did mention, Michael, that these skills are benchmarked. Can you tell us quickly how do you do the benchmarking and how similar or different it is from the ECMC?
The benchmarking on a daily basis is a 7-minute presentation and 7 minutes on the benchmarking. The benchmarking is very general on a day-to-day basis because we're looking for that which will make the most difference in your presentation. Is it your voice? Is it how you're semantically anchoring and using space with the audience? Is it the state induction? Is it the engagement? And so we give you feedback so that you refine that. And then as you make the next presentation, what stands out as the next thing that needs to be shaped so that you develop real elegance in your presentation. Every day when you make your 7-minute presentation, you get the feedback, and then you immediately do take 2. Let's do it all over again. Repeating everything you just did, but now integrating that feedback, make the presentation again, and let's see the difference. And this is the skill of receiving feedback and integrating feedback in the moment with your group so that we can see the difference. And it's not just next time, this is what I'm going to do, but this is what I am doing on take 2.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. And from seeing that model in the ECMC and the NSTT, the take 2 is very, very useful, because in previous trainings I've seen and I personally attended, participants will know what they're doing wrong, and then they will have time to sit in the chair and think about all the things they have done wrong and blame themselves. But now they actually have a chance to do differently and have a chance to actually learn from that. They don't need to wait till the next day and stay in a negative state. They can start to actually see how they can apply right away that feedback and how they can get benefit out of that. Okay. So showing some of the other things we have in the manual too, and I see we have a lot of skills. And I think the total number of skills we have here is, it's actually a lot. I cannot count them.
But I think 45 different skills altogether.
Yeah, but one specifically that I'd like to mention, and I was chatting with Geraldine about that just before we started, was the one about co-training. So I would say one of the very unique things we have in our community is that we have the concept of co-training. That's not very common in other schools, yet we are very big about that in Neurosemantics. So Michael, can you tell us more about the co-training and why, in your point of view, it's very important and you're encouraging it a lot in our community?
Well, there's just so many benefits from it. And everybody's going to experience co-training from the stage, because every time I'm on stage, I'll be on stage with someone. And whether it is David on stage or whoever else is on, they'll be there with someone else. One of the things, it gives 2 voices, 2 styles, two styles of engagement, 2 styles of rapport. And then when people develop their energy with each other and they're in sync, the presentation just laps from one to the other in such a smooth, elegant way that people will say, how many hours did you practice doing that? When in truth, there was no practice at all. We just stood, because we honor each other. And nobody's trying to hog the stage. We believe that each person can and does offer good insights. Co-training also provides the ability to be supporting the person who is speaking by looking what's happening in the audience and bringing that in when that's necessary. So there's just so many benefits from co-training, and it's always my preference.
Yeah, and another benefit Geraldine just mentioned before we went live today is actually it encourage the trainers to get started, because many trainers, when they finish the training, they feel it's very hard for them to take the very first step. Yet, if there's someone, especially if they are someone experienced who they can co-train with and they can help them and guide them and maybe mentor them, it's much easier to take the very first step. And I know, Michael, that you do encourage the trainers to co-train with each other and experienced trainers to co-train with new trainers and so on.
Yeah. And it's one way, as you mentioned about mentoring, it's one way that we bring trainers up the levels of more skillfulness, more elegance, more persuasiveness, that we're preparing for the next generation of leaders.
Yeah. Well, personally, having experienced that with yourself, I would say it works a lot. So thank you for that. So one question that also comes a lot, how does the NSTT compare to ECMC?
Because it's twice as long,
Mm-hmm.
people have much more thorough time to practice and present. And whereas in coaching, you never know what you're going to be dealing with, because you ask that coaching question, what do you want? Whereas in training, you know exactly what you're going to be presenting. In fact, you've gone through it and you've practiced it and you've refined it and you've honed it with so many aspects, and it's a creative presentation, and you know it inside out. So 99% of all the people who go through NSTT, they reach their benchmark by the time the training ends. Whereas we know that people won't be able to develop that kind of skillfulness in ACMC because who knows what you're going to get, and so we focus on the skills, and because those skills are going to be the skills that then work the material of the client into a cohesive learning that's going to change their lives. So it's, in one way, it's just completely different.
So what you're actually saying, Michael, is that 15 days is actually much easier than the 8 days, because this is the opposite expectation that many people would have. Many people would think 15 days, that's going to be too much. And the ACMC was already hard for me, so I cannot make it in the NSTT. But what you're saying is actually it's different.
Yeah, it's very different. And it is much easier. And that's because of the different nature of what you're doing in each one. Mm-hmm. And we have tried to extend ACMC more days to see if that would change that dynamic, and it doesn't. And that's just because of the difference between coaching and training. The only part of training that is like coaching is when you do a demonstration on stage. Because when you do a demonstration on stage, you have identified what you want, you have identified the elicitation question, you have chosen someone in the audience to come up to go through this pattern. So it's much more likely that the person who comes is going to be ready to go, but then life happens and you never know what you're going to get. And so you have to have some coaching ability during the demonstration skills to have that in the moment, improvising, to shift and change, to deal with whatever is being given to you. Other than that, you know what you're going to give. And that's what makes the trainer's training so much easier.
Okay, because mainly trainers are prepared, and one of the main differences between coaching and training is in coaching, we always work with the client's agenda, but in the training it's different. We have our training agenda, the one that we use to announce the training and the one that we need to follow at least like 90-80% of the time. Yeah. So in your opinion, this is one of the things that makes it easier for people to go through NSTT. Okay, since we started talking about that, can you tell us more about the requirements of like getting certified? From my experience, and I did attend NSTT, I think like 3 times. I've seen that almost everyone will make it till the end of the training, will get certified. The only exception if someone choose not to stay till the end of the training and leave in the middle of the training. But from my personal experience, I've noticed that almost everyone who would stay till the end will get certified, even if they need a little bit extra of support. And you can also tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, the prerequisites is the training in NLP, then APG. The exception to that would be the modular trainers. So 7-8 years ago, a lot of coaches asked, could I come to NSTT? I don't want to train NLP. I don't want to do any training, but in my organization, I would like to train the people in my organization with modules 1, APG. Module 1 is NLP introduction, and module 2 is APG. I'd like to train that. So we created modular trainers. And so as a modular trainer, there'll be things that you won't understand because there'll be aspects of NLP that you haven't experienced yet, but you'll learn enough so that you can present modules 1 and 2. In terms of getting to the day of the certification or the day when you're benchmarked, eventually you're going to be presenting a 30-minute presentation to your group. And that 30-minute presentation will be one of the APG patterns. And you'll be practicing that from day 4 onward. You'll pick your pattern, and that one pattern you'll present again and again and again. I don't know, something like 10 times, 14 times you present it to your group, getting feedback. So by the time you present it on days 11 or 12 or 13, whenever you present your 30-minute presentation as a whole package, you will know that pattern, that one pattern, inside out.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's one of the benchmarks you don't reach, then we'll have a special time where a second time where you do it again. And the second time you're aiming to make sure that you show and demonstrate that skill. And almost everybody who doesn't make it the first time, I would say 60% of the people make it the first time, another 30% the second time, and then we have a small group of like 10% who need to do it a third time. Our commitment is to stay with you until you complete and reach all of the benchmarks.
Okay, and as we were just mentioning, almost everyone at the training will make it during the training if they decide to stay during the second and third trial if needed.
Yeah.
And usually that's needed for like a small percentage of the people. Yet, as you said, we are committed to support people with that. It's not about if you don't do it from the first time, you have to pay extra or there's like a penalty. Our intention in the training is to support the students and to help them to get certified once they are qualified enough to do that.
This is also where the community really starts shining. So around days 7 and 8, as people are getting ready for their final presentation, they will gather a few people and make the presentation to other groups. Or they'll get a buddy, or they'll get one of the master trainers. And then on days 11, 12, 13, when they're making their final presentation, a lot of times one of the master trainers will take the person aside and just work and refine the way to do a particular skill, whatever it is that they're struggling with. And we see some of the people who finished it on day 10 and they're done, they now become mentors of the other ones because there's a real passion. We want everybody to pass. We want everybody to get the certificate. And so that's where the community really starts shining and people really start bonding.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's actually one of the questions I wanted to ask you about the benefits of the community we have. And I'd say it's one of the unique things we have, the Neuro Semantics community. We don't really have time to speak about all the benefits, but what are like 1 or 2 things you're really proud that we have in our community?
So probably the thing I'm most proud of are the institutes. That you become a member of an institute and you become one of the trainer members of that institute, and you have a voice in what we do to promote and support neurosemantics here. Because when we support it in our country, everybody benefits. And so people get together, they create conferences during the year, they create other kinds of things, practice groups, the Meta Cafe, other kind of things. In Brazil, the Institute this past year has created a marketing committee. They've got 7 or 8 people on that marketing committee, and they're planning to take all their money and to invest it in marketing, and the marketing becomes an umbrella for everybody doing neurosemantics. Mm-hmm. So you can be some part of something bigger than yourself. If you get discouraged, there's people there to pull you up. If you need some some personal coaching training for something that occurs, some crisis that occurs, there's a community of people ready to support you.
Okay. Yes, and I would say definitely the community is one of the added values we have here, and one of the unique things. And as I mentioned, I'm already a member of in another coach NLP school, and we don't really have a community. The only communication we have from them is every year when they're asking about the yearly fees. Other than that, there's nothing or added value that we're getting from there. So Michael,
So just to add
yeah,
one more, so
yeah,
part of it, you become part of the trainers e-group. We call it framers. And every Tuesday, you get a message from myself or one of the master trainers or one of the writers. And so you're going to get a book of 120, 150 pages every year on training, on aspects of training. And you'll have access to all the back issues. I think there's 12 years back issues of framers. So, it's just, I mean, so there's 12, 13 years of materials on training.
yeah, yeah. It's which is similar to the ECMC for those who are already beta coaches. It's similar to the email that you're getting every Wednesday. We have another one for the trainers. So for us, we actually hear from Michael several times a week. You only hear from him once. We're very lucky. So that's mainly the questions I have, and I do have some questions that are coming. And I would like to encourage people, if you have questions, please post them. I think we have like time for like 10 minutes for questions. And at the end, I'm going to give you more details about the dates, the event we have in Egypt. We do have a special bonus for those who are coming in Egypt, the prices, payment plans. So I'll be doing that at the end. But for now, let's take the questions. So one question we have here, and Michael, the question is it okay to attend NSTT with just coaching essential and EPG and ECMC under by doing that without doing the full NLP? Is that okay?
Right. So that's what the modular trainer process is. With ACMC, and that means you've done the two modules of modules 1 and 2, and ACMC, then you can come to become a modular trainer.
Okay, so the rest of the question is it recommended to do that or wait till they do the NLP, prac and master prac?
That's a personal decision everybody has to make. It kind of depends on your life situation, how quickly you want to get into doing some trainings. So both choices are just two different pathways to the same thing. If you get in as a modular trainer and you want to upgrade, it's just a matter of taking the NLP Prac, Master Prac. We have people who have taken Master Prac and Master Prac and have downgraded because all they want to train are the two modules.
Okay. So it really depends if they can do the Prac and Master Prac, they can do that. If that's not an option, then they can do that after the NSTT. Especially go ahead.
And because we got plenty of time now between February, the books, User's Manual to Brain Volume 1 and Volume 2, cover all the material of Prac and Master Prac. So even though you don't attend the training, you could be exposed to all of that information.
So what I was going to add is that the NSTT is only done once a year. And actually for the last 2 years, we didn't do one because of the pandemic. So if for someone there's a chance to do Prac and Master Prac, then it's better to do that if they can do that. Yeah. If not, then they can always do them after the NSTT. Okay. So another question we have here, if someone is trained or neurosemantics trainer, are they restricted to train in one country or they can train anywhere in the world?
So how we do that is that you operate with the institutes of that country. So if you're in Egypt and you want to go Scandinavia, well, you contact the Institute of Scandinavia, let them know that you're coming so that they promote you, you promote them at your training in that country. we don't want to create a competitive system to where you go, you don't tell them, you sneak into their country, present something, they don't even know about it, because that would be an unfair competition. So we want to collaborate, and we do that through the institutes. The institute there in Egypt covers several countries: Tunisia, Syria,
Lebanon,
Emirates.
yeah.
So by working together, we can accomplish so much more. So we want people to collaborate rather than compete.
So basically, there's no restriction as long as they work with the institute of that country and they can do that. Especially if someone, for example, thinking about reallocating to another country, then they actually do have the support of that country by contacting the institute in there and going there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, it's a great way when you meet people from other country at NSTT. You might invite them to your country to co-train. They might invite you to their country to co-train, because in terms of advertisement and marketing, the further away from home you are, the more of an expert you are. And so we've got this person coming all the way from this other country. And so it's a way also of all that interaction between countries and peoples by which we support each other.
Okay, so another question we have here, Michael, do we have any training on the voice, how we train our voice?
So we have a lot on that. It's one of the biggest weaknesses of people who want to become trainers. They don't know how to use their voice. So voice variation is one of the benchmarks to vary your voice, to vary the tempo, the tone, to use your voice to make other sounds, your voice to project. So we spend time helping people project their voice and how to breathe properly, so that if you don't have microphones in a room, and I've spoken in rooms without microphones to 300 people, and if you don't know how to use your voice to project, you've just lost your audience. So yes, we spend some time on that, and it's an important one. There's nothing worse than a monotone trainer talking the same way all the time in a sing-song way. So yes, we do a lot of voice training, and people come out of NSTT going home and they get a voice coach. We've had a number of people who've done that because they realize they need a good bit of training, and some have gone and just gotten a singing coach, because by singing, it helps with their voice.
Okay. So another interesting question here about the tests. Is there a test people need to do or finish before they come to the trainer's training?
We send out a 26-page questionnaire and this is on the contents of NLP and metastates. And so we ask you to fill that out. And then there's times in the training when we say, get out your questionnaire, let's go through a few more of these questions. And so that's part of it. There is no other test than that. We think of every single day as testing you through the exercises, the flexibility challenges, and the other things that we do, that all of it is testing, but it's not testing in a pencil and paper kind of way.
Okay, so it's a practical testing. Okay. So another question here, it's about a specific case. So the question here, I suffered a bad sport accident and I'm still recovering, and she has issues with standing, so she cannot stand for long periods. Can she still attend the NSTT and participate in all the public speaking practices? Or you wouldn't recommend that for her?
Well, the biggest question would be, the only time you'll stand for a long period of time is at the end, when you stand up and for 30 minutes, make your presentation. If you can't do 30 minutes of your presentation, then yes, it probably would not be well. Most of the time when you're standing up for 10 minutes, 15 minutes at a time, and then you're sitting down.
So during the training, most of the training is 7 to 10 minutes, not more than that. But at the very end, where we have the large presentation, it's 30 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And I think that's all the questions we have here. Let me see. Okay, so there's another question. Okay, and the question here is about the contracts that occurs between the trainers and institutes he belongs to, or only ethical. So is there like an agreement or contracts between the trainer and institute?
The contract that you sign as a trainer, as a licensed trainer, to use the logo, to represent yourself as a neurosemantic trainer, that is between you and ISNS, International Society Neurosemantic. So whatever institute you go to, the institute is your local representation for the ISNS. Every institute has a member who is represented on the board of ISNS. So the contract is between you and ISNS, which is the worldwide global body.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Michael, in a moment, I'm going to be like giving them the details of the next training in Egypt and the logistics and everything. Before I do that, any other things you'd like to say or any information you think they need to know before coming to the NSTT?
So Geraldine may have a word here in a moment that she'd like to say, because she's been through NSTT now several times with me. It's an experience that will make you a better person, because it's helping you to relate to people, to a group of people, and to colleagues. And so it's designed that you develop skills for getting clear in your mind, presenting it with clarity, so that as a change agent, you are making a difference in the world. And whether you're training people to learn new skills, or you're standing up in a group just to let your voice be heard, so that you influence that family, that community, that city, that country, training is a skill that will change you as a person, and it will unleash new possibilities and potentials that you may not even be aware of.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So Geraldine, are you ready for your for your word? I can tell from the look on your face you're not prepared for that.
Yeah, I was caught off guard, and as I was hearing Michael, you already said everything. What else do I have to say?
So I do have a suggestion. Let me give them the details, and let us give you the final word at the end. So I'm going to talk for like maybe a couple of minutes, giving you some time to prepare, and I'm sure you'll tell us something wonderful, and then we can end with your words. So what I'll be doing here is I would like to share the details of the event, because I'm sure that most of the people now are interested. If they already don't know these details, they want to know when is the training, how much is the training, and stuff like that. So the training, the next one happening will be in Egypt, and that will be from the 12th till the 26th of February, 2022. And that will be in the beautiful city of Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. Okay. The training will be in Renaissance Hotel, which is a brand of Marriott, and the training fees include 16 nights all-inclusive accommodation. So you check in a day before the event, and you check out the day after the event. That's included in your training fees. Speaking about that, that's the hotel. It's really a very nice one. We just had an event there in ECMC training there last August, and it was really amazing for our training needs. In terms of the installments, so people are asking about the payments and installments. So we do have installments. We actually have 4 options for payments. You can pay the full amount if you prefer. You can pay from now till the event, and that's 4 installments. That will be an extra $50, or you can pay from now till 6 months after the event, and that will be 15% extra. So that's 10 months from now. Or you can pay from now till 12 months after the event, And that's a total of 16 months you pay from now. And the reason we're doing large installment periods like that is to allow you to start training, making money from the training, and then paying for the NSTT, if that's a good option for you. So for the fees, the price, and the special offers we have here, the one payment right now, it's almost 5,500, including the accommodation and everything. And by the way, last month we were able to negotiate with the hotel and get free transportation from the airport to the hotel and vice versa. So basically, you just need to pay for your ticket, and everything else is paid for. The second option is the equal payments from now till the training, and you can see the price on the screen. Also 6 months after the training and 12 months after the training, you can see the installment, how much you'll be paying every month. And the registration link, as you can see on the screen, is lucid.ws/NSTT. If you go to that page, you can find the installment options, you can find everything. And a special bonus for those attending with us this event, and that will be valid till the end of this week. You can get an extra $250 discount if you use the promo code NSTT. So let me show you that. If you go to this link, and I'll be pasting the link in the chat box in a moment. But if you go to this page, this is the page, the registration page. And what you'll need to do is you'll click on have a promo code, enter NSTT, and that will reduce the price for you by $250. Then you can select the payment option you want, and the amount will be less based on that. You also have the option to select a single room if you prefer. Just enter your credit card details and click submit, and that will register you automatically and deduce the payment automatically from you every month. So for the bonus, and the last thing I'll be saying before we hear Geraldine, her closing word, we do have a very interesting bonus that we'll be offering. So after the NSTT, approximately 2 weeks after the training, we'll be offering a 4-day training on the business of training. And the reason I'm excited about this training is because personally, I do have 15 years experience running a training company, and I learned a lot during these 15 years. And most of the time it was not easy. So I did have to pay a lot of money, make a lot of mistakes. And basically I'm taking everything I learned on the practical side, and I'm putting that in a training, teaching you the business side of training, marketing automation, and how to use technology so you can run a training company just by yourself, which is basically what I've done for many, many years before my company grew and started having a team. So for most of the time, I was running the whole business by myself using the power of technology and marketing automation. This is exactly what we'll be teaching you in this training, and that will be offered for free for anyone attending the coming NSTT. Whether you're attending as a visitor or attending as first timer, you'll be getting that training for free. So again, the link for the registration is lucid.ws/NSTT. And that's it. If you have any questions, please just hit reply to the email that was sent to you telling you about this event. And I'll be more than happy to give you all the details. Also, if you're a trainer and you do have people that you'd like to refer, please let me know, because we have a referral program and we offer very generous referral fees. So just let me know, and I'll be more than happy to work with you and show you how to do that. And that's my presentation. I'll be giving you the link in a moment while we're listening to Geraldine.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. So what am I going to say? I'll speak from the heart. Okay. So my experience in NSTT, and it's a wonderful, amazing experience. It's hard to put it in words. All I can say is I'd really like to encourage you and invite you to attend NSTT. Talk about making a difference. How can we make a difference in other people's lives if we don't allow ourselves to make a difference in our own lives? And I must say that NSTT have truly made a difference in my life, and I would suppose for the other trainers as well. Why? Because more than the skills, although you learn a lot of skills, you get to know yourself more. I got to know myself more. And one thing that I really found, one of the best things that happened to me is realizing it's not just what I know, and sharing it to others. It's also how am I able to share it to others in a way that's really effective and efficient. And there's that connection. Because like when I do trainings, what I keep in mind is that, will I really be able to make a difference? How do I do that? How will I be able to connect? How can I really be there for others truly? And such that the participants, when they see me presenting or training, that they will not see me as the one that is really good and best at what I do, but they will see themselves. It will be a reflection that one of the best things for me that I hear from a participant when I give training is when they say, oh, I want that. I can be that. I know that. I'm experiencing myself as I'm attending the training. And these skills in NSTT will give you precisely that. And what's even more good thing about it is that it's going to be fun. We're going to be, okay, it's serious stuff, but it's going to be playfully serious. The fun is so much more, I must say 100 times more than ACMC or 1,000 times more. Yeah, and the support you're going to get will be truly amazing. The sense of community, you'll experience it right there every minute, every moment, and you're never alone. So welcome to NSTT. Please do join us.
Thank you, Geraldine. Thank you, Michael. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and see you, and looking forward to having you both in Egypt in actually a few months from now. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.